Scott Braun does a great job with MLB Network. Of course, he was part of that Mets-Phillies game on Facebook. You can catch him on the Rundown weekdays at 2. Plus, MLB Network will feature the Athletics and the Dodgers tomorrow, Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Visit MLBnetwork.com for all your local channel listings. And Scott's kind enough to join us on a couple minutes on a Monday. How you been, Scott?
Hey, Rich, I've been great and traveling again. So next game for us for that Facebook broadcast will be Wednesday. I leave tomorrow after I do my show, and we'll do the Brewers and the Cardinals. It's fun, though, because we get to interact with the fans the entire game, 2 different broadcasters with me every week. So I'm loving it, man.
Who you have working with this week?
This week will be Joe McGrain and Dan Plesac. So last week we had Kruk and Floyd. Floyd for the Mets, Kruk for the Phillies. And this week we do McGrain for the Cardinals and Dan Plesac, who pitched forever in the majors and a lot of that time with the Brewers. So I think it's cool to have fans direct their questions towards one particular broadcaster related to their team.
Right. And it's funny because well, you know this because you're a hoops guy as well. March Madness, they do the simulcast with the team, specific broadcast. So if you're watching Michigan, you can flip on that and kind of get their guys. If you're watching Nova, you can kind of get their guys as well. It's unique. And listen, at the end of the day, that's where everything's going. There's so many multimedia platforms out there, and you're right, it gives the fans a chance to integrate themselves a little bit into the broadcast and have a little banter with said players and the broadcasters. So I'm curious. All right, we're 8 games in. What is your thoughts here on Kapler? Because man, I'll tell you, I mean they're so spoiled, the Philadelphia fans, with everything's going on, and they want. It seems like they want his head already. And now you got a couple players coming out. You got Williams with his comment. You got an unnamed player, anonymous player coming out. We'd be okay if the managers got out of the way. I still give it 30 games, but man, that's a shaky start for him.
This is fun. I love this. Philly has someone to pick on, which they always love to do, right? You got to have somebody that you can pick on and take your frustration out on every single day, and that's Kapler. So I spent a good chunk of time with him last week because we had the manager meetings before we do that game. So about 20 minutes with Callaway, about 20-plus minutes with Gabe Kapler. Look, he made a couple mistakes. There's no doubt about that. Nola should not have been removed from that game at that time period. I think he had too many things scripted in his head, even during spring training, talking about Holby Milner against Freddie Freeman or a matchup like that, and then seeing Milner against Freeman, really that whole series. I think it kind of takes away from your lefty-lefty matchup because now Freeman's getting the muscle memory of seeing that same reliever, and right. Holby Milner is not Andrew Miller right now. So he made mistakes early. Not having someone ready is a total miscommunication, and he owned that. Now, going forward, there really hasn't been many mistakes since then. I mean, taking a pitcher out, like Pivetta, I don't know what he was at, 90-something pitches, and Arrieta yesterday, they had a set number of pitches for him. Everything's been fine since. The Nick Williams thing is total garbage. The more I kept thinking about it, I never liked it from the start, but Nick Williams, where are you playing right now? That's my question. Are you playing over Adubel Herrera? Are you playing over Rhys Hoskins? You still have to get Kingery in there around the lineup.
Yep.
Now, Crawford's struggling, so eventually Kingery could get some time over Crawford there at shortstop if they want to go that route, because the one question with Crawford is he going to hit? And then the Phillies told me they like Altair right now better than Williams. They think Altair is a superstar athlete. He's been hurt for a decent amount of his career, but when he's on the field, they really love what he brings to the table defensively, and they think the bat's going to come around. Nick Williams can be a talent too, but guess what? Right now, you cannot call out your manager that early. I know he was half kidding, and he said it was not bad. It wasn't good timing, but that part's garbage. We got to give him at least a
30.
month and a half or so.
Exactly.
This team is also, let's remember, this team's not that good. When I spoke before the season started and people asked me expectations, I said 500 would be awesome. That would be a great achievement for them. They're still very capable of that.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned, again, with Crawford with the struggles, they trade away Freddy Galvis in the offseason. I mean, here's a player that played all 162 games a year ago, handled the position. Again, it somewhat left them without a safety net if Crawford struggled. And then, I don't know if you brought up Franco as well, because you look at Franco, 1 for 4 Sunday, but in the first 2 games of the series, 5 for 8 with 4 runs scored, 2 runs scored, and 10 ribbies. So he's kind of building on a fast start. So you're right. In that regard, it's Kapler's got to manage and fit in the hot guy and give certain at-bats and move guys around. And you're right. I think, though, it's a bad look I don't want to say it's an indictment on him, but you're right. If you got a struggling player and that said player comes out and even makes a joke, the optics, the perception is right away, and then the manager is lost, and then you have an anonymous player, and they're always anonymous. You know this. They don't want to put their name.
Could be Williams.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. He could be hedging his bet. You're right. It could be. Which then you have to say, well, wait a second. If you're going that route, does someone have to pull him to the side as a leader or a vet on that team and maybe say, look, just let's give it 25, 30 games and basically just keep your mouth shut?
Or how about hit? Because you're not a superstar
well,
right
that's
now.
True.
So it's one thing if it's Rhys Hoskins who came out and said all this and he sat back-to-back days, totally different story. This is Nick Williams. Like, somebody tell me how they're managing the lineup over what Kapler's doing right now in terms of playing time. Where are you putting Nick Williams in the lineup every day? That's the part that I don't understand that people are getting frustrated about. If it's Hoskins, totally get it. If it's even Kingery, because I think he's got talent enough to play every day even right now, totally get it. Nick Williams is the odd man out. So what do you want? Do you want us to option you down and you play every day in the minor leagues? Like, he needs to prove himself when he does get his limited time, just like many players do when they work their way up through the major leagues and into a full-time spot. He's not there yet, and the Phillies have a little depth, which is not the worst thing, because as soon as somebody goes down, Williams will play every day.
It's a fair point. Mets off to a great start, 7-1, 5 straight, fresh off a 3-game sweep on the Nationals. I mean, Callaway's pressed all the right buttons. Céspedes, ref weekend, but had the big hit last night. Gonzalez, the veteran, who, listen, he's not going to run and beat everything out, but he gets the big grand slam Sunday after struggling during spring training. You get Cabrera with the RBI double the other night, scores the go-ahead run. How about the Mets and their fast start?
This team will go as far as their health lets them. Because the only thing is, when I did the Open on the broadcast on Facebook last week, and we did Phillies, we talked about the young talent and a little bit of depth and figuring out the playing time and where they are in their progression. We talked about the Mets and all of their offseason acquisitions because they ended up doing more than most people anticipated. Every player they bought, though, was over 30 years old. So there are veterans, and it's already a team with an MO of being hurt for a long time. I mean, this has been the case with the Mets for at least the last few seasons, where they're just an absolute disaster with players hitting the disabled list. So if Syndergaard and DeGrom give them 30-plus starts each, and the lineup stays generally healthy, I mean, you can afford an injury here and there. Every team has to be able to deal with that. And Brandon Nimmo is going to be on the bench a lot, and he can start for the team for a while, so they'll be fine. It's just, half a season last year of Céspedes. You need more than that. Frazier at third base, finally they solved the missing third base position with David Wright really not being able to get himself back in gear. So, yeah, they've got a good mix right now. And let me tell you, also spending that time with Mickey Callaway, he is a stud. He is a preparation master. He is so well trained by Terry Francona, pitching coach over in Cleveland. Best pitching staff the last few seasons probably has been the Cleveland Indians, and he gets a lot of credit for that. So Mickey Callaway looks like a veteran manager from the get-go. I don't think he's made any glaring mistakes in my mind, and we've seen that with just about every other manager, where one or two moves you're like, I don't know if he would have done that if he had a few seasons in the big leagues. Mickey Callaway looks like a pro right now. Great hire so far by the Mets.
Yeah, and it's a good point, too, with the pitching staff, because we saw exactly what he did with Kluber in Cleveland, as turning him to a Cy Young Award winner. Let's switch gears a little bit to the AL and the AL East. I'm not surprised by Boston's hot start, but I think right away people that follow Yankees or Yankees fans, they look at him 5-5, Stanton kind of struggling. They're starting to panic. Listen, everyone knows it's the ebb and flow of a baseball season. When he goes on a tear, it's going to be a nasty tear. Once he gets hot, I don't think there's any concerns. Now, you get some players here and there on the DL, and we always talk about the age and the health of CC, but I think eventually the Yankees are going to figure it out. I'm not panicking after 10 games.
I'm not either. Now, I did pick the Red Sox to win the division. I felt strongly about that, and I still do, now more so than ever, because as long as the starting pitching holds up, I want to see what Price looks like. Sale's going to be Sale. And then Bogaerts, who looks totally back and then some. So I think offensively with J.D. Martinez there, I mean, the Red Sox, I think, are a better ball club. Now, that being said, most injured team in the major leagues in the first week of the season, by far, the New York Yankees. Ellsbury, Clint Frazier, Brandon Drury, Billy McKinney, Aaron Hicks, Greg Bird. I mean, these aren't superstar players, but these are guys that fill out a roster, and all of them. CC just going down. It's a lot of players to lose in the first week, so there's a little bit of bad luck involved, but I'm not worried about the Yankees. They'll be a wild card contender. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they contend with the Red Sox down to the finish line, or I wouldn't be surprised if they're just contending for a wild card and the Red Sox win the division by 8, 9, 10 games, because I do think the Red Sox are a leg up. I felt that way before the season starts. I feel even stronger about that now.
Scott Braun joining us on a Monday, right here on Middays with Q on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Again, does a great job on MLB Network, hosting on the Rundown weekdays at 2. Plus, don't forget, MLB Network's going to feature the A's and the Dodgers tomorrow, Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Visit MLBnetwork.com for all your local channel listings. I was talking a little bit about this at the opening monologue. We talk about Harper and the start he has and the money he might command. Well, what does it say with a guy like Ohtani, who's 23 years of age, and he's actually... You're not really breaking the bank for this guy. I mean, he's legit. There's no more oddity or rarity or fluke. This kid's legit.
I can't even emphasize enough how much history that we're viewing right now. It's like whenever someone says the word baseball right now, I just want to say Ohtani and talk about Shohei Ohtani, because this is history. This is once in a lifetime talent that we're looking at right now. I mean, for him to burst on the scene week 1 like this and look like an ace #1 starter with some of the filthiest stuff we've seen in the big leagues in a long time, and then what he's doing with the bat. And in spring training, hey, I saw some spring training at bats. I was a little worried. I mean, it was 4 for 32 with 4 singles. Spring training numbers mean nothing. That's fine. That's true. But I want to see how he's handling fastballs. He was behind. What I didn't anticipate was that he could make adjustments so quickly. And what he did was he completely got rid of his big leg kick, which many players in Japan have, and just went with more of a little slight toe tap to time up the fastballs, so he's ready a tick earlier. It's the same thing, actually. Bryce Harper's done this in the past, about maybe a year ago or so, when his timing was a bit off. So Shohei Ohtani is actually really good at that. I wouldn't be surprised if he watched video of Harper, because right away when he signed with the Angels, first thing he said was, send me video, send me workout regimens, everything on Trout and Richards, your best pitcher and your best position player. I want to see what they do. I want to mimic what they do. I'm coming over from a different league, a different schedule. I mean, he is an adjustment master, and if he's going to be that good at adjusting, he's going to be out of control good. I mean, the Angels are going to have a hard time sitting him even when he's just a DH for the day, right? They want to sit him the day before and the day after his starts. They're going to have trouble even doing that. So I can't be more excited. Like, every time Ohtani starts, every time he's at the plate, that's the #1 thing I want to do right now, is be on MLB Network and be watching his at-bats and be watching his starts. So when we have MLB Tonight, I think everybody knows here on the production side, you better show us as many starts, as many pitches, as many at-bats as we can, because I think that's what people want to see. So everyone should appreciate history right now. This is the modern-day Babe Ruth, and then some, because he might be able to do it his whole career.
Yeah, and when you think about, look, I don't know if he's ever going to win 24 games on the mound or hit 360 or hit 50 home runs, but the bottom line is, if you go back and you look at Babe Ruth, he was a part-time hitter at best before he turned 23. This kid's already 23. So it's like, the sky's the limit. And you brought up a really good point. I mean, if you're the Angels, it's almost like, man, anytime you can give him at-bats, you got to give him at-bats.
I think so, because who else is getting those at bats? I mean, he's 6 for 13.
Yeah.
Since he gave up that homer the other day to Olsen and showed like the one little sliver of being human in his baseball talent right now. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought long swing. It looked like maybe too many strikeouts that we'll see once he gets to the majors. But I mean, most players that come from Japan, they make great contact. They're really good at that. I mean, that's what they preach out there. And then the power's already there. And like you said, that's the best part. Most players come from Japan, they're at least 26, 27 with the posting. He's 23 years old. So the sky's the limit. That's why every team went so crazy in the offseason to try and recruit him with videos and virtual reality, and then going to California and making a pitch with Kershaw with the Dodgers and Turner, and everybody brought their big boys from their respective squads. And guess what? If I were to tell you that this is what he looks like, every team would have probably brought even more. They probably would have spent millions of dollars on a presentation just for the chance of getting someone like this. Forget about what he's doing on the field, then also what he's doing in terms of selling seats and just the whole buzz in Anaheim right now. So I can't get enough Shohei Ohtani. And on the mound, yes, that looks like an ace to me. I mean, the fastball can touch 100 miles an hour. It's one of the best splitters I've ever seen in my life already. I know you can say I'm overhyping it. People listening right now be like, okay, it's 8 days in, relax. I'm not relaxing. I mean, it's that good. It's that amazing in terms of stuff. And he looks poised as can be. He's balanced on the mound. Nothing seems to faze him right now. I know the focus is there. I've watched so many documentaries, interviews, 60 Minutes, all that, talking to Ohtani, and he's not your average 23-year-old. He doesn't go out. All he does is baseball. And then he goes home and to relax does maybe an hour of video games. And that's it. I mean, he knows in order to do both things, it takes a lot of time nowadays. There's so much prep, and he's the guy that can actually do that. So I can't say enough, clearly.
Is it, before I let you get out of here, is it hard to kind of quantify his value going forward? Because if you think about what he's being paid, the signing bonus was right around 2.3, and I remember they also sent a $20 million posting fee to his Japanese team as well. The Angels did. So if you look at he's going to have to wait to come. The fact he waits and comes to MLB, you have the several years of service, and say right at 25, maybe he's looking at a guaranteed contract of $250 million. I mean, it's tough. I mean, how do you not, at the end of the day, crack open the checkbook here if you're the Angels?
So they have him for 6 more years, though. That's the beauty of it. So there's no rush. He is treated as a normal player that enters the big leagues under team control. So they have him for 6 seasons. They're going to have him from 23 through 29. That's why, to people that are into money, it didn't make a lot of sense. And I didn't exercise in the offseason for MLB Now, where I tried to come up with a number, if he was just a flat-out free agent, what he would have gotten. And it was in that 250 range. That's how high we got.
Gotcha.
Because when we took Tanaka's money, and then we also took Yasmani Tomas, who had similar tools, even though he hasn't worked out in the big leagues in terms of a hitter, and we combined those 2 players, we came up with a number that I think it was like 246, something like that. Wow. Now, seeing how good he looks in the majors already day one, if you could have seen a week of him in the majors, I bet teams would have gone to $300 million for how good I mean, seriously, he's that good and he's that young. But the beauty for the Angels is they don't need to do anything for 6 seasons. I mean, obviously they can look to lock him up for longer than that, but enjoy your at least first few years
and
here.
And his prime too, right?
Extension.
And his prime next big contract, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of it. It's not a guy that's going to be gone after a year, 2 years. I mean, he's treated as a normal rookie in Major League Baseball. That's why this was such a big deal. I couldn't stop talking about it. It's hard because no one had seen him, so you can't really put any, I mean, you could look at some video, but you couldn't put anything into context. And us doing this every day, we're looking at video of him, we're talking to scouts, and everybody was saying this kid's the real deal, and it's worth going all out for, and we're seeing it right now. The Angels are going to be, I mean, I picked them to make the postseason, I believe. I got to look back. I think I put him as the second wild card. If not, maybe right outside. But I mean, he's the difference maker for them in the rotation and at the plate.
Yeah, no, and then you add in a guy in Millville and Mike Trout, and away you go. All right, so again, before I let you get out of here, again, everyone can catch Scott on the rundown 2 p.m. plus MLB Network's going to feature the Athletics, the Dodgers tomorrow, Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Check out MLBnetwork.com for local channel listings. So Facebook tomorrow, Wednesday, Scott.
Yes, so tomorrow I have the rundown, although there's some changes going on right now because, and part of the reason why I was a couple minutes late was I was supposed to do a little pregame for the Cubs home opener, but that's not happening until tomorrow. But after whatever show I'm doing tomorrow, I will go to St. Louis, and I'll be at the ballpark early Wednesday morning. We'll do that game is, I know local time, I think it's 12. Yeah, so 1:15 first pitch Eastern time for Brewers Cardinals. Anyone can watch it for free on Facebook. All you do is you just search MLB Live. It'll pop up all over Facebook for you, and you watch, and then you interact with us, which I think is the coolest part. I mean, we were talking to people the entire broadcast. I'm still calling the game, but someone might say, hey, why isn't Kingery playing today? And I go right to Kruk. I'm like, hey, why isn't Kingery playing? He's like, well, they want to play him tomorrow for the home opener, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you're driving the conversation. You might as well take advantage of the technology nowadays. We haven't really updated the traditional broadcast in a long time.
Right.
It's totally up my alley. So, and we're gonna next week we're KC at Toronto, so we'll keep hopping around. And then actually we're in Philly on the 25th, Diamondbacks and Phillies. So that'll be our next Phils game.
All right, we will have a lot to talk about by then. We'll see if the Phillies have a new manager.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have Kapler talk again.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my friend, keep up the great work, and we'll definitely check out the game tomorrow on Facebook. Always appreciate a couple moments.
Thanks. Talk soon.
All right, you got it. All right, Scott Braun joining us.